So welcome to the second part of this devlog series. In the first devlog we talk about this massive gameplay system made on top of the GSP with all of its pretty cool features, akimbo guns, knives, dual swords, mixing it up, everything. And it was really well received on YouTube. While you get to see some of that, let me tell you what's on the agenda for today's video. In the first section, I'm going to share some amazing news, massive good news for Unreal devs, because that's the majority of my audience here and they're gonna benefit from knowing that. Then we're going to demo the new features of this project, because that's how I like to start, so you guys get to see the last thing first. After that, we're gonna take a deeper dive into the coding this time, because I know that's the part that gives most value to my audience, and so I'm going to put more emphasis on that. Last section would be wrapping it up with what to expect from the project in the future. And before we get to the good news part though, I want to take a moment to thank you all for all the love and support that the first devlog received. All the likes, subscribes, especially the ones who accepted my invitation and came to the Discord channel, because it really takes someone truly special to see something awesome and be like, hey, let's go support that. You guys are the life of the party, man. I really appreciate that. And if someone's new here, if they want to do the same thing or have a question or feel the love, just know that the links they need is going to be in the description of this video. So, without further ado, let's get to the good news. Nanite support for skeletal meshes is coming to Unreal Engine, and I'm not sure if Epic Games or Unreal Engine have announced it yet officially or not, but this is a feature I saw in Unreal Engine 5.5 closed beta version, and it was already working and it was holding up pretty well, so it's very much likely that we see Nanite for skeletal meshes inside Unreal Engine 5.5, right? So what does that mean? That means that you can have high fidelity, very high quality characters with a lot of vertices and tons of like high poly characters in one scene without dropping your frame rate too much. And so it's really huge, because before this, what Metahumans could be used for was usually just for cinematics or not very suitable for gameplay, right? But from now on, you don't have to really worry about that. And kudos to the R&D team of Epic Games or Unreal Engine for coming up with really good niches though, because they've been knocking it out of the park ever since Unreal 5 came out. They've been really doing a great job, in particular after that. So I just wanted to put it out. But without wasting any time, let's go to the new demo of the character creation. In this case, Metahuman creation inside GSP, and it's not really unrelated to the news that I shared also, right? So what we have here, we have this mirror on a wall and another actor, which is just a volume, which allows me to interact with it. And whenever I go in front of that mirror, it just tells me like press F to edit appearance, right? So whenever I do that, my character just walks in front of the mirror and starts looking by itself. And from there we have these cool facial animations, and I'm able to move my head around, and able to see all the details on my character's face or body or whatever. And it also has controls for selecting different things and creating a new metahuman on myself inside the game, right? So let's create a female one, and let's say this face. For the hair, I'm going to color is good. Let's just pick a hairstyle. That should be nice. For the eyes, maybe this one, or a bit brighter. And the eyebrows, and literally anything that is customizable on a Metahuman inside the Metahuman creator online, you can literally do that also in here, and that's why it's so cool, right? So for the tops, let's go with the shirt. For the bottoms, let's go for the yoga pants. And the shoes, this one is good enough, right? Yeah. So yep, this is what we have. And yeah, that's mostly all of it. Oh, there's a cool thing though. This whole thing, let me actually lower the graphics settings and get another client for you. If I play with two clients, this whole interaction is also replicated. It's gonna drop the frame rate a little bit because there's so much going on, and nanite is not there yet, so bear with me. So if I go interact with this mirror right now, as you can see, we were able to turn my face around, right, with my character. So it's the eyes and everything else is just replicated as well, and it's just driving off of two different variables, so it's very easy to on the network. But your friends are now able to stay here and see how much of a narcissist you are, just looking into the mirror for hours and hours. And I thought that would be a nice little feature to add as well, right? I know that metahumans aren't really interchangeable parts when it comes to doing this sort of thing. So I'm going to do a breakdown of how all this system works, right? So whenever I walk to this mirror and start overlapping with that interaction box, I'm able to do the interactions. So I'm not gonna go into the smaller details. This is a huge chunk of code, right? I'm not gonna be able to cover all of this inside a short video. I'm going to do my very best to go through all the harder parts and give you the best hints. So my apologies for that. If it's going to be very fast or anything, just know that you can just, like, you know, make it go slower or whatever you need to do if you're trying to also keep up and develop the same thing on your own. So whenever I press the interact, my player controller is going to take over and spawn a AI controller for me, and that AI controller is going to make sure that this character will walk in front of the mirror and always facing the mirror as well. Obviously that is using a nav mesh, so you're gonna need a nav mesh for it as well. After that, we just have a UI that pops up, and my new pawn, which is basically just a camera, I will take over a new pawn, and that pawn I'm able to, like, just move around slightly, zoom in, zoom out, and look at my face and my character's body, right? So that's how it's working. Also, I'm able to press the navigation buttons like W and S and go up and down in my selection, and by pressing space I'm able to select and just change my stuff, right? So let's go into the code and show you how it's done. So this blueprint over here is my interaction box. It's not just for the mirrors, it's also usable for other things. Hence there is also another enumerator, first thing, which is instance editable and exposed on spawn. Now, what does these things mean? Instance editable means that whenever I put an instance of this inside my level or create one, I'm going to be able to change the value of this variable on demand, right? And also exposed on spawn means whenever I'm going to spawn one of these, this variable will be one of the inputs that is going to be exposed to my create blueprint, right? Create object from blueprint. And this will be available for me to just adjust on the spot whenever I'm spawning one of these. So we also have an interaction location and interaction rotation, which will be also instance editable and exposed on spawn. Those things will be on the event construct. We'll be updating this arrow. This arrow will be then showing me whenever I'm putting, like, for example, let's try to adjust one of these. For example, if I lower this to 40, you see that arrow moves and just helps me to know where that relative rotation and location that I gave it would point to, right? So later on, my AI controller will use this arrow, this location and rotation, in order to position itself in front of the mirror. That's how it's done, basically. Easy as that. So whenever my character steps into this area, I'm just getting a begin overlap from the box. That's very simple. You probably already know how to do that. There is going to be this event called on my characters on the client side. And this event will just update the available interaction for me and also the location and rotation. And then whenever my player presses F, in this case, it will just check if it's able to do the action. So if those queues are empty, it will then, based on that enumerator that was exposed on spawn, this will decide what kind of action this is. So for example, right now we only have character customization, and then from the character customization it will just go into the it will holster all the equipped weapons and everything if necessary, and then it will just go to the player controller class. The reason we're going to player controller class again is going to be because it's able to exist on the server and the client. Also, it's able to give me control over what pawn or what pawn I'm going to possess, right? So we're gonna create an AI controller over here, and then we're gonna unpossess the current pawn, which would be the sandbox character, and then we're gonna possess the new pawn, which the sandbox character, by the AI controller. So the AI takes over, then AI will get the destination and will try to go forward and step in front of that mirror, basically with a move to AI. And a pro tip is to, if you want to also control where it's going to face, you need to also make sure that once to strafe is true in order to be able to just face the direction that you are giving it as the focus, as focal point. What else do we have? Yeah, so I set the focal point to the facing direction and facing location, and also the destination of my character where it needs to go to, right? So once it's done, it just allows me to turn the face of the character by my input, and that input is coming through this event to my character. It's coming from another pawn. That pawn would be the one we're going to possess right after we possess this one by the AI. We're gonna create another pawn, which is this one. This pawn is just basically just a camera that will do the transition from our character's camera into the mirror, and then it will also be taking our input, right? So my mouse input should be moving the head of the character, and that's happening here, I guess. Yes. So let me, no, not that one. On the event begin play, I will create the widgets also, and inside of this pawn, this new pawn, and then whenever we want to zoom, we will basically do it by a timeline, so it's smooth, and it will just set the field of view of this camera. And what else do we have? It will have an aiming value which will be put into this these two variables over here, aim horizontal and vertical, and these two variables then will drive the ROS update AI head input. So this is going into the player controller first, and then from the player controller I have a reference to that AI controller I spawned down there, right? So that AI controller will be getting this input from my other pawn, my character's pawn, which is the kind of the spectator that is from the mirror. So that's how I was able to still control my character, but not really be in charge of it. Another thing we have is that my character has a bunch of facial animations, and those facial animations are handled inside one of the inside my Metahumans. If I do search for post-process, you see this also exists in your Metahuman folders. This is basically the animation blueprint that handles your facial animations. And if you want to get more control over it, you can come to this anim graph and just add control rig. And in the control rig, you need to also go down here and set the class of your control rig class. It's you need to set it to the face control board control rig. So keep that in mind. That's already coming with the Metahumans, but it needs to be set before you get access to all these variables. And when you do, you get to expose all these variables here whenever you want. And then these are the ones that I'm using. So we have the eyelids for left eye and right eye, and blink, and also we have the mouth. So it's just like doing some twitches, small twitches with the mouth. And these animations will be handled mostly by random, except the eyes facing the mirror. So how is that handled is that on the event begin play, I'm going to set the timer by event. Every 5 seconds it's going to be looping, and then I'll try to get the pawn owner, which will be the sandbox character, right? This will be used later for setting the rotation of the eyes from the mirror. So AI will my AI controller will update the value of this eyes horizontal additive, and this will go into the control eye variable I have here, which will then go into the control rig, right? So for both left and right eye. And event graph, let's go back to the where we started, right? So on the loop, what is happening? So every 5 seconds this function will try to do something, and that's how I was able to make that facial animation where the eye twitches slightly, or where the mouth twitches, or the lips. And this adds a lot of life to your character. Never try to overlook this part to do some facial animation in your games, especially when you're using your Metahumans. So every 5 seconds it will try to blink twice by calling this function with a little delay in the middle. So there's a random delay, so it's not always the same amount of time. And how it's handling the blinking is by using a boolean. It will just set my boolean to true or false, and that will just be 0 or 1, right, when I turn it into a float. And that float will just, when it's 1, the eye is closed. When it's 0, the eye is fully open. And that's how it's blinking every then with a delay I will just open it back up and then do another branch, and with a 0.3 seconds delay I might also do another blink, so it's a double blink sometimes. If it's a 20% chance that it's a double blink. That's how it's done. And another thing that I have here is a slight eye movement, which is just randomly generating a number between 0.3 or minus 0.3, and that's going to be my and also 0.2 for the other the vertical and also the horizontal plane. And these values could be between -1 and 1 to look left and right. So it's every couple of seconds my character's eye will be doing a random bunch of twitches repeatedly, and sometimes it's gonna do twice, once, or thrice. So that's how we get that random eye twitch in the middle. And the last thing is just like swallowing, which is on a 20% chance, so it's not always going to happen, but if that chance happens to fall into the 20% section, it will then add some additive values for my character to do a twitch with its mouth, looking like it's just swallowing the saliva. So yeah, that's how I did the facial animations. And what else do we have? Oh, the most important part is, let's see how much time do we have. The most important part is probably the UI, right? So inside my UI I have let me try to go to the UI folder inside Appearance Editor. So I have 3 different widgets. So the first one is going to be the headers. Let me demonstrate on top of the gameplay. So the first one is going to be the headers, which is just the header of this section, right? So we have different sections inside our appearance, and the white ones are the headers, and the black ones are the sections that can be selected. So those are the options that I have. The way I handled it is actually I tried to work smart, not very hard, and I went into these two are section widget and also category widget. This is what I call them. So the categories are the white ones, the black ones are the selectable, which is going to be the section widget. And if you go into them, there is a bunch of variables. This is going to be the what is going to be the on the side, and this is going to be the name of this section. So for example, face or eyes or whatever. So these two variables are instance editable and exposed on spawn. And I already said what those things means, right? So you already know probably. Sorry. Okay. Let me get some water actually. Alright, so here we do have those kind of things, right? So when we go into the main widget though, we have a scroll box on the side, and we have some guides for telling the player what buttons will do what. And inside this scroll box, everything is happening. And for example, when this is opened by the event construct, I'm calling open main page, right? So every page that I have is a bunch of different categories, and also it's going to be a bunch of sections. And for the main page, I just add things manually by the list that I have. But For example, if I try to go into the faces, then my event will be called. It will set the current page by the enumerator, and then it will go to the this function will just do one thing. It will clear all the main scroll box children. It will also collect the garbage so they are not hanging around. So all those widgets will be destroyed. And then if it's going to be add page up, it will also create a section on the top first for me to and add it as a child, so it will be like a back button, right? And that's what it does. So it will be called every time I'm trying to open a new page. It's just gonna call the prepare main menu page. And then I'm going to add a category with whatever it is. So let's go back to the faces where we are demonstrating. So for this case, I'm just gonna add that expose the spawn variable to the face. So it's gonna say face, and then whenever that is done, I'm gonna get the data table, and the data table holds all the different faces I have with the LODs for materials and everything. And that data table will have a bunch of row names, right? So I can just iterate through them with a for each loop, and for every single one of them I create a section, and this section widget will be added in the list, right? So basically that's what is happening here. So whenever I add them as the child, afterwards I need to make sure that I have a list of all the selectables, because there are categories and then there are the selectables, right? So I have an array here which I will first clear whenever the new page is turned, and then I'm going to get all the children, make sure I only get the ones that are from this type, and then I'm going to add them to that array again. So it's just going to hold the list of all the selectable ones. And for the animation part, where you can see we have this cool looking vertical and horizontal fade in animation for our thing, it's actually handled very easily. So you see, whenever I turn the page, it's just gonna come with a really cool effect. And how that's handled is just we go for every single one of these. After I add them, only for the selection ones, I'm going to call this initiate. Initiate will be inside my selection widget. There is also another animation I have over here, and this animation is going to just vertically horizontally shift it to the right, and also like make it fade in, right? That's very simple. It's like a half a second animation. Then another thing to notice is that this whole widget by default from the parent is going to be, its visibility is going to be collapsed, so it's not going to take up space inside my scroll box. But when the event is called, it's going to be set to visible, so it's going to be vertically taking up some space in there, and that's how it will push everything down from there. So it will look like it's smoothly pushing down. And another thing that happens is that by the index of my selection widget inside my array over here, so I send the index of that particular widget into this as well. I multiply it by 0.1 as the seconds, so the further down that this widget is inside the list, the later it will be faded in. So that's how you get that kind of motion over there. And also for the last part, every one of these are either a page pointing to a page by an enumerator. So if I open it, it will open up a page for me, or it will just be items. In this case right here, it's just items. That if it's items, it will just update my character based on that data table of the different faces that I have into my character in the map. So yeah, that's what we have so far, for the sake of demonstrating and also um, showing how it's done. I hope it was really helpful, and if you do have any questions, please do reach out to the Discord. I will be always answering, so don't feel worried about that. And I hope to see you in the next video, because it's already getting to the 30 minutes point, so we're not gonna extend it much further for this one.